Hello, listeners. Welcome to episode 9 of Are You Ready to Ruc? Hello, my name's Kevin Borras. Welcome to Are You Ready to Ruc, the podcast of the SPRUCE network. In case this is the first time you've heard one of these, SPRUCE stands for Specialists Providing Road User Charging Expertise. Talking of road user charging expertise, I've been joined by my ninth, essentially fixing, that's not the right word, is it? My ninth collaborator, Andy Graham. Hello, Andy, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good, excellent. So, Andy is one of the most well-known people in the ITS sector, especially in the UK, where you cannot find someone in the ITS world who doesn't know who Andy is. However, just in case there's someone listening to this going, I don't know who this guy is, could you introduce yourself to the listeners, tell us about your day job, as it were, and some of the prominent road user charging projects that you've worked on over the last 30-odd years?
Okay, well, let's start with that one. So I worked on the lorry road user charging project in the last century in the UK, various tenders for that. And then I worked on a thing called the Time Distance Place project, which was with Ian Catling, who I think you've spoken to. We were looking at a pilot of complicated road user charging in the UK, and that was in 2006. And that project showed a lot of the technology could work, but the barriers were political and institutional. Guess what? Since then, I've worked for the World Bank in terms of HGV charging in Bulgaria. I've worked on toll roads in Canada, in tolling of South Africa. I've worked on a large number of free flow projects around the world, from the M50 in Ireland. I did Dartford. I worked on Mersey Gateway. I'm currently helping various bids for work in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So I've had proper road user charging expertise, but also some heavyweight tolling projects. So I kind of have been around in many projects in many guises.
Yes, you have.
What I do day job now is I run a thing called the Transport Technology Forum with my consultancy called White Willow. Very much focused on connected vehicles. So connected vehicles, not just brand new cars, but of all sorts, ranging from horses through to the oldest connected cars in the world. A couple of veteran cars we run on the London to Brighton run, worth a little YouTube if you haven't seen it. Focusing very much on the data that you can get from vehicles and how you put services into vehicles using comms. And one of the sets of data that you get from vehicles could be road user charging data. So my mission is to try and sell the idea for road user charging. It ain't just about the money. It's also about the data that you can get and some very interesting things you can do with that data. And I offer you our friends in Toll Collect in Germany who have a map of what German roads looked like yesterday based on tolling data. So that's my overlap, my Venn diagrams of connected vehicles and tolling and charging, all sort of crunch at data coming out of vehicles. That's what I specialise in at the moment. The other thing, just for interest, is I work a lot on eCall, emergency services, in terms of processing that data. Whilst you can't use that for tolling, it has a lot of similar aspects to institutional Europe-wide directives, all that kind of stuff in terms of getting data out of vehicles.
Yes, perfect. One of the subjects I want to cover, but we haven't got time now, is the idea of the link or the intersection, again, talking about Venn diagrams, between autonomous vehicles and tolling. How's that going to work? Anyway, we won't discuss that now.
My personal view is autonomous vehicles are still a long way away. Let's focus on connected ones for now. And a connected vehicle can be a 120-year-old vehicle with a mobile phone in it. Can also be a cycle, etc., etc. I'm interested in autonomy, but it's a long way away.
It is, yes. If you're listening to this and you're working in the autonomous vehicle sector, good luck. I'm not saying. Okay, so
only 10 years away, and it's been 10 years away for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it has, isn't it? Let's be fair. Okay, so SPRUCE is a partnership of road user charging experts, as we discussed. Every one of the 11 experts in the team brings something different to the party or table, whichever you prefer. What would you say is your particular unique selling point as an individual?
Well, I think as I just said, kind of the knowing the data you can get from a vehicle and knowing what you can do with the data. I think also because I've been involved in quite a few projects that never quite got off the ground, I have this kind of cynical view of will the person on the street understand that because
Yeah.
it's far too complicated to explain. I'll give you the example of time, distance, place charging. And so how much is it going to cost me to drive from here to London? Well, it depends on when you drive, what route you drive, what vehicle you drive.
Yeah.
We end up with something as complicated as the British railway ticketing system. So I offer the sort of, is this really sensible? Can we really explain this to a truck driver, stroke person who doesn't really understand the economics of tolling? But my main focus, I think, is how would you use the data that you get alongside the money?
Yeah. Yeah, explain. I insult engineers all the time when I say that engineers are very good at talking to engineers in engineering, and they're explaining things in a very simple way. That's kind of what I like to think I do, is really important because the end user of these exciting new technological developments are going to have to understand what it's for and how to use it and what the benefits are. And when the RTS sector is possibly not quite as good as it should be at that. Would you agree?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, you and I have talked about this for many years.
Hmm.
One of the problems is that if you look at the roadies are charging projects in England, what, nearly 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was a quote that said the maximum rate might be 43p a mile. So the newspapers immediately say it's going to be 43p a mile for every mile you drive all the time. And
Yes.
we're not very good at giving the context of why it's done. We're not very good at explaining that we design these things to be fair and sensible and suitable. We're not very good at explaining why the world has changed, i.e., yes, we did give you a rebate to get an electric car a few years ago, but now we need to charge you for using it because you don't otherwise contribute to the condition of the roads and the potholes and all that. So again, a lot of that's politics and a lot of that is comms, but also as engineers, we do tend to talk letters and numbers rather than actual, it's a box in the car, it does stuff, and that box can often be a phone. We talk
Yeah.
about OBUs and RSUs and TLAs and all sorts of codes. So basically, we can keep it to ourselves and not let real people understand what we're talking about.
Yes, we must stop doing that. So, my next question has two acronyms in, so I won't say those. So you worked on a number of different projects from different angles over the years. So what would you think would be the top three factors that any authority or city or whoever who are implementing a road user charging scheme, what three factors should they consider?
Oh, that's very easy. And I know I'll be repeating what Mr. Morello would say, but it's communications, communications, and communications.
He did say.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't communicate what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it and spend a lot of your budget and effort doing that, don't bother. And the other thing I'd say about communications is also not just the human bit, but also the digital stuff. If you're thinking about road user charging, particularly in the UK, then our mobile phone networks aren't particularly brilliant. So what do you do when you don't get the data connections and all that sort of stuff? And the third one, just to give you three, is enforcement. How are you going to be cleverer than the nasty people who are going to work out ways of defrauding you, but also clever people who think that they're just going to stick a bit of tinfoil on top of the aerial of their onboard unit and not be tracked. And one of the things we did 15 years ago in a project in the UK was look at all those sort of measures for doing what would now be called AI and big data on using that for enforcement. So communications definitely up there. The way you get your data back and enforcement.
Yes. I read a story maybe a couple of years ago, which shouldn't have laughed at, the idea of trying to counter these systems, where a protester, cut down with a chainsaw a speed camera and it crushed him. Didn't kill him. But I just think that's kind of where we're heading, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were people in court in London the other day for actually doing exactly the same, cutting down cameras. Because every camera at the side of the road is a speed camera or an enforcement camera, even if it's for safety or cutting in journey time.
Yeah.
Big Brother is always out to measure you, etc., etc. So again, thinking about, do you do soft enforcement? Do you, for example, if you don't pay your electricity bill, they don't cut you off immediately. They send you lots of red letters. Is there a thing there that we can learn from some of the tolling schemes where they've looked at it as a utility rather than a crime?
Yeah.
And one of the problems you get from enforcement is immediately you get the criminal part of it rather than we think you owe us some money. Would you like to pay, please? Here's some way we can help you.
Yeah.
Which would be the electricity or the gas bill or ...
Good point. So coming back to Spruce, all 11 of you have different skill sets. Some in comms, some GNSS. You have obviously your own skill set, which you talked about. You've all worked at different companies of different sizes and different projects. So what do you think is the combined strength of Spruce? Is it the individuals within the team, or is it the team itself? Because the chances are that you're not going to have more than 2 or 3 Spruce members working on the same.
Do you remember the start of Mission Impossible, where Mr. Graves, in charge of Mission Impossible Force, would pick from pictures of all the experts that he had available?
Oh, yes.
Sometimes he'd flick across Martin Landau or Barbara Bain or in the new version Tom
The
Cruise.
original one, not the
original one. Well, it doesn't really matter. I think
Yeah.
he did the same one. All I'm saying is you don't have to have the whole of Spruce. You can ask us and we pick the right people. So we've got people who've worked in different governments, different languages, different countries, different continents, different types of system. But the one thing we share is a passion that RUC is a good way forward. What we don't always have is a football team, soccer team of people that need to turn up. We can hit the ground running because we know exactly the right person in our team to start work straight away, and that has probably been involved in it for some time. Most of us have been around for many tens of years in this business. There's nobody learning in terms of getting up to speed. Obviously, every day's a classroom in this sort of area, but so the strength is pick any 3 or 4 from 11, not the bench of 11, but the fact that we've got the right 3 or 4 for any type of scale or whatever project I think is one of the strengths.
I was thinking more of the beginning scene from Thunderbirds, where all the pictures turn to reveal all the Tracy brothers. Not that there's 11 of them, but I'd see you as Gordon in that case. That's all right.
Gordon, the pilot of the submarine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure that will be relevant for many people on a podcast, but there you go.
I don't know. I think it might. I don't think you should presume that people listening don't know Thunderbird.
No, clearly Jeff Tracy is Mr. Morello.
Of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah. There's no question about that.
There you go.
Right, Andy, I know you are very busy, and I will not want to keep you any further. So, Andy, thank you very much indeed for joining us. If you want to find out more about the Spruce Network, you can. There is no website. You'll have to do it via LinkedIn or via personal recommendation, and there will be no website. This is a deliberate move. So, thanks for listening once again. My name is Kevin Borras. Thank you, and goodbye.